going on, guys? Mr. Mariglia here. I am filming your notes for today because I am not here. We are on day 11 linear regression, and that is on page 257. 257, day 11 notes. I'm just going to go through the beginning notes and then one example, and then that'll be all for the video. This is a very important topic in the stats unit. It is the most important topic in the stats unit, so you're really going to want to make sure you know how to do this. Before we begin, you have to set up your calculator in a special way, and I'll go through that really quickly before we start the lesson. First of all, linear regression. Linear regression is the process of using a linear equation to model the relationship between two variables. Now, there's one of two types of correlations you can have. You can have a positive correlation or a negative correlation. So here are the two. The first bullet point, if the increase in one variable leads to the increase in another, then there is a positive correlation. A positive correlation. Here would be an example of this. When the temperature goes up, ice cream sales go up because when it gets hot outside, you want to buy more ice cream. So this would be an example of a positive correlation. Increase in temperature, increase in ice cream sales. They both increase. Now, the other one, if the increase in one variable leads to the decrease in another, then there is a negative correlation. A negative correlation. An example of a negative correlation would be as the temperature goes up, hot chocolate sales go down, right? As the temperature is increasing, the hot chocolate sales decrease because no one wants to buy hot chocolate when it's really hot outside, right? So that would be a negative correlation, okay? Now, and we're gonna use these two things in this lesson for the next couple days. Before you begin linear regression, you have a series of steps that you have to make on your calculator. You cannot begin the lesson until you complete these two steps, okay? The first step, click second, then 0 for catalog. If you look here in blue above the 0, you see the word catalog. We're gonna click second, which is the blue button, and 0. It opens up the catalog. Now what you wanna do is you wanna scroll down until you get to diagnostics on and click enter twice. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna scroll down, click down. I keep clicking it, but you can scroll, just hold it. When you get to diagnostics on, see where it says diagnostics on? Click enter twice. Enter, enter. Your calculator will say done. Now you can begin the lesson. You cannot do this lesson without doing those two steps, okay? So now the diagnostics are on, we can begin the lesson. Let's just clear this now, okay? There are 6 steps to doing linear regression. We'll just do these steps when we do our first example, okay? But you can read back of them if you need help. So we're gonna be on 258. Before we begin linear regression with an example, I gotta teach you about a new number, which is called the correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient of a linear relationship measures how strong it is. The correlation coefficient is labeled with the letter R. R. So when you see the letter R, that is the correlation coefficient on your calculator. If the correlation coefficient is a number between -1 and +1, okay? So this correlation coefficient is from -1 to +1. If R is negative, then there is a negative correlation. And if R is positive, then there is a positive correlation. So this R value tells you what type of correlation from the first page, positive or negative, that you're gonna get. And here are the ranges. Most of the time, you're gonna get either a strong positive or a strong negative. Most of the time, you can get these middle ones, but it's not as likely. Let's do our first example, and then we're going to be done. And I think each example after this will be very similar, okay? So let's get started. We are at page 259. An ice cream shop wants to know how their sales will be affected by the temperature. They collect data on the sales and the temperature, which is shown below. It says, state the linear regression equation for this set of data. Round all values to the nearest hundredth. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Stat. We're going to go to Edit. In L1, type all the temperatures. In L2, type all the sales. So for the temperatures, we'll get on this side, 61, 72, 68, 75, 71, 75, excuse me, there we go, 71, 87, 82, 76. Now, for the L2 column, you're going to put all the sales numbers. So 870, 900, 906, 930, okay, 910, 1,110, 1,050, and 985. So you see how the L1 and the L2 each have the same number of data points? That's because the table has the same number of data points, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna click Stat. We're gonna click Calc. Most of the time, we just click 1. But this time, we're gonna scroll down to 4, then click Enter. Okay? Your X list should be L1. Your Y list should be L2. If it looks exactly like this, scroll down to Calculate and click Enter. Okay, now, the only number you're not going to need in this list is this number, R squared. We don't care about this number. We do care about the other 3. Okay, so don't worry about R squared for the remainder of this unit. It says to state the linear regression equation for this set of data. So linear regression equations always look like this. Y equals AX plus B. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to type A, B, and R just on the side here, but we're going to round them all to the nearest hundredth. Okay? So A is going to be about 9.77. B is going to be about 234.83. This is all from the calculator. Now we're just going to use these two numbers in the equation. So we get y equals, instead of A, we're going to write that. We're going to include our x. And then we got to put plus B, which is 234.83. And this is the equation for the data. So that's one step. Now, for B, it says to state the correlation coefficient, which is the R value to the nearest hundredth. That's where we're going to use this bottom number here, the R value. So the R value is equal to the nearest hundredth, 0.94. Okay? Now the final question, that's all we have to do is state the R value to the nearest hundredth. The final question, explain the meaning of the correlation coefficient, that's this number, in context of the problem. We're going to go back to our previous page. 0.94 was our R value. This number lands right in between these two numbers. So 0.94 represents a strong positive correlation. So for our final answer, explain the meaning. There is a strong positive correlation between, and then you're going to put both of your labels, which if you go back to the front or the kind of the beginning of the question, we're measuring temperature and sales. So we're going to say between temperature and ice cream sales. Another way you could say this is that as the temperature goes up, the ice cream sales go up. That would be another way to state the same thing, okay? That's all. Do the rest of the examples on your own and complete pages 263 and 264 for homework. Have a great day, guys. See you tomorrow.